Hey there guys, welcome back. So I'm going to get this video out, cover some trade ideas, cover the general market read, and get the video on out. So thank you for joining. Not too much has changed in the general markets. So there's not a whole lot of new updates around that from last week. So, today let's start off with the Qs because that's where the action's been at. Tech is continuing to rally. Daily chart here. Here's your uptrend line. We're just above the uptrend line, continuing to hold the trend. So nothing's changed. Still in an uptrend. On the weekly though, you can see here here's your uptrend line channel in the Qs. We're just outside of that channel right here on the weekly. So not a very high probability area to be outside of a price channel when you're either above it or below it, especially when it's a rising channel and you're above that rising channel. This is a low probability area that this price is going to continue higher, unless we're getting a blow off top, which obviously could be what's happening. And then maybe it just shoots straight up. We'll watch that. But again, there's no real sell signals right now. If I go to the hourly here on the Qs, the daily, it shows a little cleaner. This was your bearish engulfing candle, but it still was above trend. It took place above this trend that we had. So it was a potential topping stick, but we didn't get confirmation. So again, everything needed to be traded against that candle if you were going to take a trade. Today they've taken out that candle, so there's just nothing. There's nothing that's we just don't have any solid sell signals on Qs. However, looking at the divergences down below, you can see momentum is fading. So this is signaling that there is a impending trend change, but you need the sell signal, and we just don't have any sell signal. So no break in trend, no sell signal. It just tells you that the momentum is fading and a sell signal should come soon, but not there. So that's it. The other thing to notice today is, we're moving higher today, but look at the volume, really, really low volume today. So just something to keep an eye on. And that plays into the momentum is fading. The indicators here that, it's moving, price is moving higher on really low volume and fading momentum. So until the sell signal comes, there's nothing to do, but, it should come soon is what I'm thinking. SPY. This is interesting here. So SPY, I've got this trend coming off the lows in March. And you can see on the daily, we've just been walking up this trend line. We broke it the other day. So that was a sell signal right there. It wasn't a very impulsive breakdown though. And, it didn't come with a lot of volume. So now we get the back test, it looks like. So it's doing a back test right now. The back test actually looks like it might come in on the daily chart right around the top of this gap, which is sitting at 332.77, 333, somewhere right in there is the top of this gap. So maybe it's going to back test to the top of that gap and then fail. I don't know. The SPY has, broken trend. So now we just wait for some sort of confirmation, I suppose. A back test and then look for big selling to come, something like that. That would help. Negative divergences down here in the momentum is still signaling that a big move to the downside is coming. But we're back testing right now, so let's see what happens if we complete a successful back test, and then where does it go after that? The other thing to notice that's curious to me is we've entered the gap again. Gap entry on the SPY is 326, right around 326. We've entered the gap, and then obviously gap fills around that 332.77, 333 area. But look at the volume. Here's your volume. Just no volume today. Today is just dead, basically, when it comes to volume. So price is moving higher on very thin volume with negative momentum indicators. So that's what it looks like. Looks like we're moving a little bit higher on just, the few traders left that are going long or taking long positions. And not that many of them are doing that. Obviously, the volume shows that. and momentum is fading. So just got to look for that big sell signal, that big down candle. Should come soon is what this is telling me, but it's not there yet. So here's Microsoft. This is one of the reasons why the spot, or the really everything's rallying, is Microsoft's really strong today, and Apple is continuing from Friday. So here's Microsoft. I was looking at it a little closer. Here's your March lows. This is a nice clean uptrend that I can make. You've got a reaction here, a reaction candle here, and then you come down and hold support right here. Then it breaks, does a back test, but it overshot it just briefly and then failed. Today we're gapping up and running right up to do another back test. So I'm going to watch this trend line to see if this holds validity, and see if we fail somewhere around a complete back test right up in here. If that does, then that would set us up for a move to the downside, because here's Microsoft, here's your uptrend, break in trend, back test, and then you would fail. Ultimately, Microsoft should come down to the major support, its bull market support around 155, and that's quite a bit of a move down from where we're at. That's a 30% move down, which is in par with a correction in Microsoft, and then we'll have to see what happens. If this is signaling, if it breaks that, then we'll come down all the way down to this trend line, which goes all the way down to the 2009 lows. And you can see here's your low, here's the reaction support, yet another reaction here, and we haven't touched that trend line since 2015. So if Microsoft breaks this trend line, then that would be a move all the way down. That's a 60% drop in Microsoft, which is not, that would be right down to the bull market support for Microsoft. But again, going back to the hourly, just need to see what happens. We need to see some sort of rejection up around this resistance line. If this is going to play out, a rejection would be good to see. Here's Apple. So Apple's got this price channel right here, and it broke down last week, but it was before earnings. And breakdowns before earnings, breakouts before earnings, all should be taken with a grain of salt, because obviously earnings can change things, and that's exactly what happened. So they broke down and then recovered the support line on earnings and ramped all the way to the top and overshot the top today. If I zoom in, you can see we overshot the top, Apple did, of this price channel, and have since recovered and come back below, and we're basically at resistance right now. So this is probably the end of the move for Apple to the upside, and now we'll start to see a move, down to the bottom of the price channel, down around 415 or so, depending on when we get there. Amazon looks weak today. It's interesting how that is. The rally today on really low volume is pretty much due from Apple and Microsoft, but Amazon is selling off, and so Amazon actually was rejected again. You can see here on the daily, this is your bearish outside day or bearish engulfing candle on Amazon, and it's still intact. It's still a sell, it's still potentially a sell signal. It was a reversal candlestick, and we had confirmation, kickback rally 1, kickback rally 2. So, if Amazon wants to come down here, it needs to break support for, the big sell signal to take place, down around 3,013 or 3,000, somewhere right around there. And if that takes place, then that might have been the top for Amazon in the short term. Amazon does have negative divergence in the PPO on the daily chart. You can see it right here. You made the peak. Here was your high price, and then you made a lower peak and a higher high. But it doesn't have it on the RSI on the daily. So something to keep an eye on. Google's looking weak, actually. And so I think if Google can't recover tomorrow, or even I guess to close out the day, then that's going to probably be one thing down, one thing down, breaking its support. And you can see here, and Google's already reported earnings. This was your support line right here at 1483, basically. We broke down. They tried to recover it late on Friday, and today they sold it right into that. So it has not recovered. It was rejected at that resistance. Resistance held. So unless they're able to, stay in this area and then gap it up, then I think that that's going to be a breakdown in Google. Now, without the rest of the things breaking down, it's going to be hard for Google to go too far down. You need to see some of these other ones start to break down. But, if Apple's at resistance, which it is, and if Amazon is, starting to look weak, maybe that's enough to start the momentum to the downside. But in general, Google looks weak today because it was rejected at its resistance. Finally, Facebook. Facebook doesn't really look weak. I mean, it gapped up with big earnings. It's selling off a little bit. Could just be flagging out on the daily. If I go to the hourly here, it's just kind of holding this area right up here. So this could just be a bull flag. Nothing. It's not weak in general. So I don't see anything that tells me this one's weak. We don't even really have divergences. Let me look at the daily here. Yeah, we do have negative divergence on Facebook on the daily. You can see it right here. If I can mark it out with my line tool. Nice clean negative divergence. So the price right now is a divergent high on the PPO, and it's there as well on the RSI. So it is actually negatively, it's the momentum is fading. And price today, you can see there's not a lot of follow through on the buyers, but that's congruent with the flagging action. It's just kind of consolidating. So we'll watch this, see what this wants to do. And I'm keeping a close eye on the dollar here, the DXY. We had on Friday a bullish engulfing candle. And so far today, if this can hold above the close of Friday, then that would be confirmation. It's not aggressive confirmation. I mean, ideally, you'd want to see a much greener candle. But if it can hold above the close, then that is confirmation. It's just barely holding on to it, so we'll see. And if this holds, then maybe that's a rally in the dollar, a sell-off in gold, and potentially a correction in the market. Let's look into some individual trade ideas, and then we'll wrap up. Here's Zoom. This one I don't like as much anymore. And here's the thing: here's what I see on the chart. We have an outside day bearish engulfing candle. We got 4 confirming follow-through days. So that was a pretty clean signal, although this did all happen above trend. But it is a higher risk trade because, if you're shorting this thing, you're still above the bullish trend. But the trade was essentially a pullback down to this support. That was going to be the trade. And then you got a kickback rally, and then it started to resume the trend. At this point, everything looked good, looked like it was going to roll over and tag the support line. However, it just kind of held in this area, and then today they're running it right back up into resistance. So resistance right now is sitting around right where we're at, about 269. It's about 269, and we're sitting right there. But I don't like the fact that they're back at this level again, and they were already here before. They should have probably rolled over. Now it is at resistance, so perhaps it holds here and then starts to roll over. But again, just something to watch. I'd like to see some sort of confirmation that this can hold now, because it's testing this resistance for the second time, and oftentimes when you start testing things more than once, you can break through it. So that's what I'm watching there on this one. I'm going to wrap it up with XLF. We need to watch this one closely. This is the weakest sector, the financials, and I just don't see the market going too much more. I mean, tech has been doing its thing, but I don't see the market going too much more without the financials. So we got to watch this, see what happens here, and look to this for a key clue in terms of what the market's going to do. The tech sector can obviously move the markets, but the financials can be a signal on what the next move is. And so we've got an uptrend line here on the daily. I kind of adjusted my line slightly. I had it slightly higher, but because we now have a data point here on the daily, I'm going to leave it right here. And so we've been walking this trend line. We'll just give it the benefit of the doubt and walk this trend line. So very weak action, though, that you can see we're barely moving above this trend line. We're just grinding along the lows. And if I go to the hourly, you can see that, we're basically the same thing. We're just kind of grinding down here along the trend line. So If we break and roll over, that might be a signal for what's to come for the general markets. Until then, we're walking a trend line, moving higher, and there's no sell signal is the point. So it's just something to watch. I'm going to wrap it up here. There's just not a whole lot that's changed today. Really low volume day today, so nothing that really took place today is confirming price action. It's just a continuation of the existing price action that we had from Friday. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you, and catch you guys on the next one.